Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. I am Alice Morrow, owner of Vintage Bee Design, and today I'm going to take you on the journey of transforming this little tiny side table into a Wonderland dreamscape. I'll be using Dixie Belle's new line of transfers, bells and whistles, along with a lot of other products by Redesign with Prima. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do enjoy it, please be sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you receive notifications every time I post. Anna and Heather had actually already base coated this piece with the stripes, and so I'm just going to take Jamie Ray Vintage Harlequin stencil and start adding some more textures. This piece is going to be all about layering. One of my favorite things about this particular stencil is it is a repeating pattern, meaning if we want it wider or longer, we simply overlap the stencil to our previous pattern, so in this case the diamonds, and we can expand it. Once I've got my Harlequin stencil done, everything is nice and dry, I'm going to give it a light distress. I'll make sure that it is well dusted, and then I'm going to go in with my Klingon S30, which of course you know is my favorite brush, and give it a top coat, and then I'm going to come back with a very light dusting of Moonshine Metallics. This is basically going to be like a dry brush technique, and so you need to make sure you've got almost all of the paint off, and don't freak out. It will be a little messy and a little bolder than you want, and the trick is to keep working at it until you get what you want. I opted to do the top coat before the Moonshine Metallics, and that is because I wanted to be sure that the depth of the color didn't soak into the previous colors. That top coat helps to create a bond, giving me more workable time with the Moonshine Metallics, which I'm basically using as a metallic glaze for this piece. I'm using the same damp brush, but with no paint on it now, just to feather out the edges and make it a smooth transition. The colors in this Alice in Wonderland transfer are pretty much the originals from the Lewis Carroll book, and I wanted this to really feel like it was a dreamy state to balance those colors, so I am layering and layering and layering using primarily pastels. And yes, you can stencil with all of Prima's waxes. So in this case, I'm taking the JRV borders and I'm really creating a frame around this image. Again, I want this to be dreamlike. I want it to really be the centerpiece of this table. For even more depth and a little bit of shine, I'm going to go with some Wise Owl glaze. In this case, I have the Wise Owl metallic gold, and then I also have a whitewash, and I am going to randomly brush this on, and then using a dry lint-free rag, I'm going to pounce it off, basically working that in, and it's just going to create some shadows and some lines and a little bit of sparkle. And I'm doing this with both colors to the entire surface, including that back area. Once I have all of this done, I'm going to try the next thing, which I've never tried before. This is my first time. It kind of came to me. I love like the Dixie dirt and stuff like that. So I decided, because Miss Mustard Seed milk paint comes in a powder form and has lots of great colors, that I would effectively use it the same way. So I spritzed some easy peasy spray wax into the corners and then just dipped it straight into the powdered Miss Mustard Seed and started working it around. Now I did find that the color showed up better if I added a little bit of water, so I did break out my misting bottle and add a little bit of water, and this was the perfect touch. It was exactly what I needed for this piece. I needed a sort of dream-like space, and this created kind of a cloud that you could still see through, but added so much depth and texture. I will for sure be using this Miss Mustard Seed technique in the future. It is time to bring on the bling. So I have jewel paste in rose quartz, and I'm applying that with sort of a spatula brush and just making sure the stencil stays still. I'm just sort of filling in all of the gaps. This does use quite a bit of product, but boy, is it worth it. Look at that. It's amazing. This was nice and thick, although it spread easily. And even when I cleaned up these little line details, it was super easy to do with just a fine brush. I just sort of went in and scooped it right out with my brush. And I've got to say, almost no bleed through anywhere. This was the only spot I had any areas, and it was wonderful. And I'm going to use some Best Dang wax right over the top so that this can be enjoyed for years. Remember, the Moonshine Metallics and the glazes all have their own top coat, but it is nice to finish it off with a soft, dreamy wax that feels so good over the top.
Hear the noise ground. There's no one but you and I. We're